what is our ask? What is it we want them for? Do we want them for media interviews? Do we want them for events? Do we want their name on collateral? What all do we want?
Welcome to Celebrity Focus Insiders with your host, Rick Backrack.
From Oscar winners to Hall of Famers, Della Burns has done dozens of deals connecting famous people with famous brands. She's worked at big agencies like Edelman, RF Binder, Burson, Havas, and IMS. And she's represented companies like healthcare giants Eli Lilly and Baxter. She's worked for consumer brands like Canadian Mist, Jim Beam, Southern Comfort, Kraft, and Band-Aid. Della is also an executive committee member of the board of directors for the Crazy Horse Memorial. Della, what makes a celebrity and brand relationship great?
I would say there's three things that make the relationship great. Number one, you want to find a celebrity that's, number one, relatable. So relatable to who? And that's the key. Who is the target that client's trying to hit? Is it the consumer? Is it the retailer, the franchisee, the physician? You want to get somebody who's relatable to the target. You want to get somebody who has a positive story. You can find a lot of people who have a sad story to tell. And then there's nothing that brings you forward into how their lives moved ahead. So you need to find somebody who has a positive aspect to share with regard to that client and that product or that category. And then last of all, you want somebody that is easy to work with, which you don't always know, which is where a talent broker is really helpful on that and with that regard. So you can't always assume that everyone is going to, even after they accept the engagement, is going to really partner with you and really want to dig in and get to know the goal of the campaign.
What's most important to brands when considering a celebrity engagement?
Well, honestly, again, their target, which that's one of the interesting things I found over the years, is that I've had clients who knew their target inside out. You could ask them demographics, they give you age, income, geography. And then I've had clients who you ask them who's the demographic and they say, oh, everyone. And it would be impossible to be everyone, especially if they're in the regulated industry. So you really have to keep questioning the client about who is the target for this campaign and what do they know about them that they can share with you. And if they can't share much, then you're going to have to do some research and share it with the client so that they understand why you're coming back to them with, here's the profile that would work best. Now, what's your budget? And then start narrowing it down from there.
And where does the agency fit into the equation in terms of counseling your brand clients, leading them through process? Where does the agency fit and what's correlation there?
You know, many times the agency, this will sound harsh, but sometimes the agency is the voice of reason, that you have to explain to the client, you might want George Clooney or Charlize Theron, but that's not the budget you've got, and that's not someone who's going to relate to the target of this campaign. You also have to explain to them that they shouldn't be disappointed that their budget cannot reach what they would call an A-level celebrity. Because oftentimes what you find is an A-level celebrity wants you to appreciate the fact that they accepted it. Your B-level celebrity, somebody who's been at the top and their career is kind of moving downwards, really, they're going to understand what their role is and that this is their new life and they need to dive in and make this happen. And that can be a really exciting engagement when you have a celebrity who is really committed and wants to make it work.
How did you manage the process? Tell our viewers a little bit about how the process unfolds, quite literally from the first call you get from the client, or does it come up in the ideation stage as you and your teams are pitching ideas, pitching projects? Where does it all start, and how does the process play out for you from a counselor and advisor perspective?
Sure. Well, it can happen both ways. It could be in the initial proposal. We might go to the client with a campaign that would involve a celebrity, whether it be throughout the entire campaign or at various stages or events or activations. Or it can be that the client calls you and they have an upcoming event and they need to add sizzle in some way. And maybe that's what comes of it. Maybe once you talk to them a bit about, well, what do you want? What's the goal here? Where are we going? And a celebrity would make sense. So once they're on board in terms of wanting a celebrity, then you sit with them, you really kind of fine tune. If we got someone, don't even think about who yet, but if we got someone, what is our ask? What is it we want them for? Do we want them for media interviews? Do we want them for events? Do we want their name on collateral? What all do we want? In an ideal world, and if you didn't have an ideal world, what's your plan B? Once you've got that pulled together, then step back and ask them about budget. Where's our budget on this? Because no matter where the budget's at, you can probably find someone, and to make it really work. And what's interesting today is, years ago in the industry, you would do, which is how I started, booking local media tours, where you'd take a celebrity from town to town and book them on the #1 newspaper, the #1 radio, and all 3 TVs, and they do it all in one day. And then over time, it turned where nobody wanted to go to local markets. They wanted everything to be national. Well, with social media and with influencers, suddenly they're seeing the value of having more of a one-on-one connection, and people are moving back to those local tours. And if you're going to have somebody doing local tours, it's probably not going to be your A-list celebrity who wants to make a trip to Raleigh, North Carolina. As much as it's a beautiful town and any of us would love going there, they're not going to understand, why am I on AM Raleigh? Why am I on such a RAL TV, whatever. But your other level celebrities, they're going to get it and they're going to make the most of it.
We've obviously got lots more to talk about, and we're going to do that right after this short break.
I want to personally thank all the teachers out there, especially at the Goddard School.
A special message of love and appreciation.
It's all about giving kids the best chance to succeed, not just in the classroom, but in life. We are Goddard because we believe that education has the power to make the world a better place. The Goddard school system helps families develop happy, healthy, and successful kids.
Della, let's pick it up where we left off. I want to go back and talk a little bit more about process, but in particular, what are some of the important points that brands need to think about, agencies need to think about when we are negotiating contracts? What's important to get in these deals?
So you want, first of all, you want to think of a laundry list of everything you want to use this person for. And let's say in your mind, you're going to have them on collateral that goes to, and I'm just going to say it's in healthcare, collateral that goes to the patient, that goes to the physician, and you make that whole list. Well, that's really only one photo shoot, and it can be used all those different ways. So figure that's a one-day photo shoot. And it is a one-day, even if they're only in front of the camera for an hour and a half, you have to add in time for hair and makeup, travel, break time, all that. So that's a one-day shoot. You got to think through your list and what can be done. And sometimes you're not sure how long something might take. So talk to your talent broker, because they've booked so many of these, and they can tell you, here's how we can squeeze down the number of days. Here's how you can get that all done. So that's one of the things that you look at when you're working with the client, is how do we do that? What's the ask? And then beyond that, for instance, again, if you're doing a photo shoot, how long is their name going to be out in the market? Do we plan on using these materials for just one quick campaign? Which I had a major client that really their campaigns might last 6 weeks. They put up a website, it's done, it's over, we're out of here. That's an easy one. You have others who want to have these things available for years. So all of that has to be worked into the contract. And then to kind of pick up where we were before, then the agency's role is respecting that, because clients will have, and this is to be expected, they're going to have to tweak things as things roll forward. Like, hey, it turns out we're not going to be able to do XYZ because another brand within our whole umbrella corporation is doing that as well. We got to change that. So that's our job, to go back and work with the talent broker and the talent to tell them, we're going to change this up a little bit, but it's still within your time frame, and it's still X hours in the given day, and this is what we need to change. Are you okay with this usage? And just make that happen fast, so things keep moving forward. Beyond that is, I've had situations where celebrity, maybe middle of the campaign, they just don't want to do it anymore. They're done. They've had it. And that's when you have to go back to whoever helped you with that negotiation and say, now what do we do? Because they're going to have the power to have worked with that agent and manager so many times before. They're going to know how to go in and either have that person kick up their game and fall into place, or they're going to get somebody else to jump in quickly for what we need for that last event or whatever. So it's making sure things are moving forward according to the client's timeline and according to what we promised in that contract.
That is great information, great feedback. I want to talk about a couple of specific pharmaceutical deals that I know you've worked on.
Yeah.
One was a campaign for Eli Lilly with Patty Duke, Oscar-winning actress. Tell us a little bit about that. Why Patty worked so well for that, and why the campaign was successful. Then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about a little more challenging campaign. Also was great, but we'll talk about that next.
Sure.
Tell us about the Eli Lilly deal with Patty Duke.
Sure. So Eli Lilly had the #1 atypical antipsychotic Zyprexa, which was for the treatment of schizophrenia and for bipolar disorder. And we ran a number of programs for them over the years, but we were coming up on the 10th anniversary of one of the programs, which honored behavioral health workers within the community. And we had an awards program that went on for years that really put a focus on those community workers. And for the 10th anniversary, we wanted to gather all of them and bring them to Indianapolis and offer them something that they really weren't being offered anywhere else. And to make it extra special for them, not only was it 3 days of workshops by highly respected professionals that they did not have to pay to attend, and there was nothing required of them. Everything was covered. You come here, we'll fly you out, we'll put you up. This is your day to celebrate you. And then the icing on the cake was to bring Patty Duke, who she herself was very open about the fact that she has battled bipolar disorder. I have to say, the great thing about Eli Lilly is they'd always been focused on the importance of a patient working with their doctor to stabilize symptoms. So they really didn't care what she was on. Just, was she working with her doctor, and was she on a good path and doing well, and could she share that story? So we worked with Patty, and Patty had done, in her teens, she had been in a show, The Patty Duke Show, and it's amazing how many people know that theme song because we flew her out to Indianapolis for 3 days. She was there. She received a special award at our big banquet. She understood that her role was to make that an important weekend for everybody who attended, not just for the client, because what the client's focus was those people who have done so much in the community for years. So how many of them are really going to meet her face to face? She came to us and she said, you know what, during the dinner, I'm going to go table to table. We probably had 300 people there. I'm going to go table to table. I'm going to talk to each person. She offered that. She then would go up to people when somebody would start singing the song. She would join in with them and pull in other people to sing the Patty Duke theme song with her. She thought through about how she knew her role was to make that important for those who had attended. And she knew that everybody there should go home with a memory of some kind. So even when they were giving her the award, she was up front at one of the first tables, and she was having a good time with it. She was kind of heckling in a very good-natured way to the speaker, the CEO, but in a way that the people in the back could hear, and they would have a story to talk about, like, oh, I went to this big banquet and the celebrity kept heckling, but it was all in good-natured fun. And she made it extra special for everyone, and she really bent over backwards, and it was a great engagement.
That's a great success story. We are nearing the end of our vodcast today, but rather than talk about the other deal, let me just ask you this. Do you have any advice that you can offer, let's say to newer PR practitioners or even brand executives who maybe have never done deals with celebrities? What would you tell them? What would you offer to them in terms of your toolbox and what you bring to it?
Yeah, it really gets back to the number one thing that you learn in college in communications, and that's know your audience. Who is your audience for this campaign? Is it the consumer? Is it the retailer, the franchisee, the physician, the community behavioral health worker? Who is it, and who do they want to hear from? Who is going to be meaningful to them? So that's the number one thing, is keep that in mind. And the other thing is, again, don't discount don't think that because your budget's low that you're not going to be able to get someone effective. That if you work through the right channels and you find somebody who has done a number of these deals before, they're going to have the insight to know who's going to serve you best once they see that laundry list of ultimate celebrities that you'd like to work with.
Before we leave, I want to remind our viewers, if you like this, if you've enjoyed this podcast, go ahead and click the button somewhere. I'm not sure where, but click the button that says subscribe. Go to celebrityfocus.com and subscribe to our newsletter. You'll get lots of great info, and we'll give you updates on when the next episodes are coming out. Della, you have been a wonderful guest. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We've known each other a long time, and we are going to have to do this again because I've got a dozen other questions here that I want to fire at you. So we're gonna consider this volume 1. How's that?
Perfect. Sounds good. Thank you, Rick. It was fun talking with you, and I look forward to watching more of your videos in the future.
Terrific, Della. Thank you. And again, go ahead and subscribe, and we'll see you all very soon.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Celebrity Focus Insiders, connecting famous people with famous brands. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date and check out our past episodes at celebrityfocus.com.